Welcome to Tuesday Live tonight. I am Omini Odan. The federal government of Nigeria has from inception made it a cardinal objective the empowerment of Nigerian youths to combat high level of unemployment and poverty in the country. This it has achieved through appropriate skill development and provisional opportunities that will increase productivity in the country. The Nigerian Youth Investment Fund, for example, is a federal government initiative created to boost the Nigerian economy through leveraging and access to finance for youths. The government's thinking in creating the huge fund is to serve as catalyst to unleash the potential of the youth and empower many to develop businesses that will ultimately increase employment. Large-scale development, for instance, is the main policy thrust of the NPA program, just like the reformed NALDA will lead in national young farmer schemes, back to farm initiative, agro input initiative, among others. Indeed, President Muhammadu Buhari is committed to lots of schemes to improve Nigerian youths, lead 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years, but much depends on the young persons to capture these opportunities and utilize them. Tonight on the program, we'll be looking at youth empowerment program through various schemes created by government to unlock opportunities to improve Nigerian youths. But first, let's take a listen to this background report put together by Olainka Ojo.
Findings from the National Bureau of Statistics shows that in the first quarter of 2020, more than 13 million youths were unemployed. This connotes a huge untapped labor force that can be effectively utilized to initiate human creativity, mediate new opportunities and partnership in research for development.
Spot problems, create solutions, and then, just dream, be creative.
It is also indicative of the fact that youths can promote the adoption of technologies and aggregate buyers and other actors in compliance with quality requirements through various social media platforms. Entrepreneurship plays an important role in Nigeria. However, statistics show a rise in unemployment from 10 to 15% over the last few years. And now that the nations of the world, and not only Nigeria, is struggling with recession, those numbers are likely to rise.
Graduates in Nigeria needs to understand that every single thing you are learning in school must also be able to be applicable to whatever you choose to do. And all of it starts from your mindset.
Startups remain a lifeline for millions of young people who cannot find jobs, but today are finding support through different intervention programs by both government and the private sector.
That our nation is as strong and as prosperous as the young people's skills and talents and their hard work. This nation is only as strong as those of you who are in this room and people like yourselves.
That will continue to nurture this partnership, all for the good of the youth of Nigeria and for the development of our country.
These interventions have served as sustainable development plan aimed at reducing poverty and unemployment, as it provides for both acquisition of skills and capital. Bridget Francis is one of those participating at this Youth Empowerment Summit, and her goal is to impact more skills on youths.
Today to learn, I got to understand that yes, even where I am, my condition, my environment, my situation cannot stop me from getting to where I'm supposed to be.
Economic experts say some challenges young entrepreneurs are likely to face include productivity and financial management.
Know what kind of investment you require. Do you need an angel investor, a venture capitalist? Those are the things that an SME needs to sit down and look at.
It is certainly not easy for the likes of Bridget, but she's determined to make it against all odds. Olainka Ojo, NTA News.
Youth empowerment in Nigeria. Olainka Ojo's report sets the tone for the takeoff of the program. At some point, our phone lines will be placed on the screen, and if we join you, please turn down the volume of your television set and go straight to your point and be polite. Don't Rick Maruru. Also, you can be part of the conversation tonight through our Twitter handle at Tuesday Live NTA. Also, in the course of the program, we shall be taking reports, dotting the landscape of the country, all to keep you abreast of what the youth empowerment programs, the gains, the prospects, and how well youths are taking advantage of what the government has put in place for them to be involved. Well, I'm being joined by a team of guests in Abuja and one via Zoom, all in Abuja. Beginning with Dr. Garba Umaru. Dr. Garba Umaru is a member of the Technical Committee, Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Political Matters. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Tonight we have Hawa Huru Al-Kashim. She's an entrepreneur. Welcome to Tuesday Live.
Thank you very much.
We believe we'll be privileged to see some of the products you're doing all under the scheme tonight.
Sure.
Ni Akinsiju. Ni Akinsiju is a financial and investment analyst. Welcome to Tuesday Live.
A pleasure as always. Thanks so much.
I understand we're being also joined tonight by Professor Mohammed Usman Mutaka. He's joining us via Zoom in Abuja. He's of the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Good to have you on the program tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. You are welcome.
Let's begin with Dr. Garba Umaru. I remember very well during the campaign for the second term of Mr. President, he was very emphatic in most of the rallies he attended. One that is very, very fresh in my memory was when he had audience with some women group where he said, by the next level, when we come back, I will involve everybody, talking about inclusiveness. Would you say this has happened this time?
Yeah, it has happened. And it is not only in 2019. If you remember, or if you can recall, way back 2014, 15, during the election, it has been part of the campaign I think he has been using. What I can say is that President Muhammadu Buhari is a man of the youth. In 2015, he stood his ground that he will not contest. But I can tell you it is the youth that travel all the way to Daura and impose him to contest. So, and I'm sure all the time and in all his programs, he has the youth at heart. I am part of the Buhari Youth Organization, the only organization he registered by himself. We are the custodian of the youth during the campaign and after the campaign. So from our own assessment, the government has done well so far. In the first set, I can say in the first regime, so many youths were carried along. Though, you know, when you have your elders, you cannot overshadow them. We cannot say that Buhari should drop all the elders and take all the youths on board. It can be possible. At least we want it to be balanced so that we will be guided. I cannot say we don't have the capacity to do it. We have. But as youths, at least, whenever we turn back, we need to see those elders behind us. Because
Okay,
there are,
just
one or two
just
things.
a second.
Yeah.
Let me act here like a youth. Imagine maybe I'm a youth now.
You are.
And you have said the president has been inclusive and the youth, you emphasize the youth, right?
Yes.
Now, if I ask you as a youth, I'm a youth now, and I said, can you specifically tell us which areas in specific terms?
Yeah, if you look at the ministerial appointments, don't look at the portfolios. And I will not mention them, but if you look at it, because some people might feel it is an insult to categorize them in that category. But if you take the analysis, the statistics yourself, you know that there are youth inclusiveness in the government. In the ministerial appointment, or I can say among the ministers, there are youth. Come down to the bottom parastatal, I can tell you about 78% are youths. It's only that, you know, the problem is that there are some key places in the government that they are well known We, the youths, we always want to take that position, and it can be possible. So that is why at times we will be crying as if we are left aside or we're being sidelined. But if you take a critical look at it, I can tell you youth form about 60% of this government. But it's only that when you come to the topmost area, you see that those that are there, they are his contemporaries. And I don't blame him for that.
Okay, let me hold it there for now. Let me go to Nii. I'll come to you, please. Now, from what Dr. has said, can we go into specific terms? Our focus tonight is youth empowerment. If youths, there's been some inclusiveness by the present administration as testified by Dr. Umaru. Now, in terms of empowerment, can we be specific? What are those programs that have been put in place for youths to lash on and have a breather within this space?
Well, I think the first thing is to background it with the nation's demography, because we talk about youth now, principally because the youthful generation or the youthful population defines the Nigerian jurisdiction, as it were. So if we're talking about Nigeria, the reference about Nigeria would be a country populated in majority, by the youthful population. So if the same MBS that was referenced in your report has also told us that more than 66% of the nation's population are made of people between the ages of 15 and 35. So that is what defines us. And it will only take a responsible government to target that population, because one, that demography, as it were, is perhaps in the order of economy. That's the most important, demography, because it's the most productive demography. And when other jurisdictions, when they look at their demographics and they see that their youthful population is going below 40%, there's a conscious, policy to try and actually invigorate the growth of that segment of the population. And that is what we have, more or less on a platter of gold, on a platter of gold, as it were, And if we have such population, unfortunately, and I'm saying this with all emphasis and all sense of responsibility, I have understudied a number of governments, effectively since 1983. The truth of the matter is, the country has been defined by this population class since that period, but we never actually took particular attention on it until 2015. For whatever may be the reason, we had, for the first time, a program like the Empower that targeted the youths, It's in reality of the fact that we have a population of youthful people that are not also too empowered, historically weakened, because there were no deliberate policies targeted at them over a period of time. And we can say historically too, that at the time when some governments, wanted to attend to the youth, they turned them into Okada riders and Keke riders. And they became more or less nuisance. Because when you have that kind of solution to the deficiencies or weakness of a particular demography, and it is not about skill or professionalization, what you deliver, to the jurisdiction is actually more of burden. But between 2015 and 2020, those of us that have been tracking, this empowerment thing, can say that to a large extent, the government had deliberately deployed policies, and programs to elevate and upskill the Nigerian youth. The 66% of our population, and we are talking of a whole 206 million Nigerian population. 66% of that will be more than 160 million. So we need 160 million Nigerian people, to be empowered. So if this government, as it were, had not directly targeted this population, it would mean that we'll be creating a serious burden going forward into our future, you know. One, I feel it's a good one. The Empower intervention is a very good one. And it had also now extended to, because some people were doubting what will be the outcome of it. The outcome is that you've had more than 1 million people that have rolled over.
Actually, you have hit the nail on the head there. Well, I'll come to you. You have mentioned one strong point, which is deliberate policies to upscale youth involvement in the governance process. Let me hold you there.
All right.
We'll go to specifics. I don't want to get across the entire panel list, then we'll come to specifics. So let's come to you now. You're the only lady in the house.
Yes.
So, youth empowerment within the present dispensation. What's your own take on it?
It's been a good one. If you listen to what my brother has explained to you, Empower had really helped a lot. And I've seen a lot of youth coming up with creative, innovative products in Nigeria within this time. And I ask myself, where are these guys all this way? A follow-up to the Empower was a MSME clinic that was going on in all the states. And if you go to those, it's like a trade show where people come up with different products, and you wonder, why didn't we do this before now? So presently, I'll tell you that this present government has done a lot, had opened our eyes to a lot of things. Nigeria is blessed, and I know there are a lot of things that they still need to do, but I am grateful that I have opened the way, given the youth space to explore. Stop.
Okay, let's go to Professor Mutaka. Professor Mutaka, well, with that, we are not going to the nitty-gritty. We'll get to the nitty-gritty. We're just trying to set the basement now. If, over time, youths were just placed somewhere, let me borrow the words of Ni, Okada riders, cyclists, and what have you. And currently, they have come up with a deliberate policy to upscale youth involvement in the governance process, in business, private sector, public sector. Why would the Nigerian youth say they are not being taken along?
No, actually, as professional economics, what I want to say is that there are statistical presentations and also the policy frame at which you can look at each policy or each effort and what are the targets that you want to achieve. There is no economy in the world that develops with ad hoc policy frame. Those social interventions are social interventions as they were called, an effort to limit, to alleviate. They are not permanent solutions. They are not permanent policy frame, but a stopgap to augment certain level. So if you said Nigerian youths are only based to look at that stopgap as a way of achieving youth inclusiveness, I think that could be over exaggerations. But what I want to say is that no matter how those social interventions are, do they answer the yearnings and the aspirations of Nigeria as a country? This is true because does it provide the needed stable plan jobs that are required? And to what extent can be sustainable? That's the key word, because sustainability is in that context are the issues that are very important in economic development and processes. So that's, I think, the key word there.
Begin by going to specifics, and I want to begin with the NIE. Now, let's look at the 774,000 jobs initiative, which is already flagged off in the country. How do we look at that?
Sorry, forgive me, so that I can also put this issue in context.
Okay.
Since Prof had gone that line, yes, in matters of intervention, when there is an emergency, the appropriate thing for any government who is reasonable to do is to intervene. Even today, the United States of America, had spent over $3 trillion between January 2020 and December 2020. Intervention, trying to create palliative and cushioning the effects of COVID-19, especially providing funds, for their people to live, sustainable funds and all that. There is a big debate going on now on the $1.9 trillion that the new president wants to pass through Congress. The whole idea is we have a near emergency situation. By 2015, when this government came into power, there was a near emergency situation. Every structures were crumbling. People were left in desperate situation, and the only thing to do as at that time was for government to come up with policies. Now, that does not stop the larger environment, the larger economy from growing, but what it will do is that at that point in time, those who are burdened, those who had become deficient, who had become non-economic agents, needed to be tapped into and grow. And that is what I think the government did with those early interventions, Now, we can also look at economic figures. In 2016, the size of our GDP fell to $404 billion, in 2016 when we went into that recession. But now it had also risen up to over $500 billion. Now that is more than or near $100 billion increase. That tells you that the economy had also elevated and it would have created new jobs, for the youth. But that does not stop the government in a situation or circumstances that we have found ourselves, especially on the heels of the consequences of COVID, to bring all these other ideas. The 774,000 jobs, for instance, is a stopgap, and that's a typical stopgap solution, to provide temporary palliative to youths that are unemployed as at this time. And of course, in doing that, also stimulate the economy, within those local governments. And in stimulating that economy, those economies in those local governments, it will have an aggregate, impact on household consumptions, And if you have household consumption being driven, it would now also have an impact on production, either at the level of manufacturers and all that. And as manufacturers are producing more, they are also expanding at their back end, expanding their plants. As they expand their plants, they are also now creating jobs for the same youths. So it's a cyclical thing that with multiplier effect. But you cannot, 774,000 for me is even the least on the list of those programs. I call them a boutique, of programs. More than 35 of them, and specifically about 17 targeted at the Nigerian youths. Now, how do you place 5 million solar homes? Solar system for 5 million homes, And the federal government, out of its responsibility, had said the production and installation of this 500 million solar system to 500 million houses will be done strictly by the Nigerian youths. How do you also place the 300,000 housing units, that also been commissioned now, to be built across local governments in the country. And the proviso also is that the Nigerian youth will strictly be the architects, the builder, the artisans, and all that will be responsible for the construction and the finishing of those houses. And more impressively, a 200 billion naira fund had also been set aside to provide funding for those artisans and those builders, those professional builders in that category. So what I'm trying to say is, here is a 300,000 units of houses. Normally, this would have been job for the boys under any other government. But a government is now telling you, no, this is not even about political patronage. It's about targeting a particular segment of the Nigerian population, because there's a need not only to upskill it, but also to empower it in terms of providing wealth for it. Because, of course, if a builder or an architect, an architect and all that is provided the opportunity of building a bungalow at about 2 million naira, and he has about 4 to 10 units of that to do. At the end of the day, he's wealthier. He's taking the money he would have made into the larger economy, and that will also now have multiplier effect, Besides empowering him, he would end up empowering others. Don't also forget that he will be employing laborers, laborers in realizing what those things. Then also look at the 6 million electricity meters. When I first read that, I was like, who is doing this thinking? There is an historical deficiency in electricity meters to Nigerian households. There have been a lot of wailing and cries over that, hue and cries over that. In fact, so many solutions have been thrown off out of the window, But here comes a program that says 600, Nigeria needs 6 million meters that will be fixed. And the government now says these 6 million liters that will be fixed will be limited, the production will be limited to the Nigerian youths who are engineers. They will not only produce the 6 million meters, they will also install them. Before now, we know that this also would have been job for the boys. But now we know that the people between the ages most likely of 20 and 35 have something to do. My only limitation is, are we talking enough about these things to the targeted population? Are they conscious of it? Because we are talking of so many projects that you just need to apply, and be empowered.
Okay, we'll get to that. Are we talking to the persons who are supposed to be target audience? Doctor, I'll come to you on that. Now, Hawa, you're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And you're involved in a particular area of production.
Yes.
And within the chain at which you operate,
yes,
you have people working under you.
Yes.
Now let's begin. How did you get to be involved in what you're doing? Did you just start on your own? It was through an intervention by government. How did it start?
I started on my own. I actually started with animal protein, and 8 years into it, decided to go into plant-based protein, because I found out that we have excess cashew in Kogi, we have sesame in Nasarawa, we have hibiscus, moringa, tiger nut, enormous. And we're so good at exporting raw materials that we do not add value. When I say value, I'm talking about international standard that is exportable. And 3 years ago, we decided to just dive into it and do it. And I went in for MSME the clinic, and before I knew what was happening, the following year I won. And I'm like, okay, good. That means there's something here. And I've had people.
When you say you won, what did you mean?
Sorry, I won MSME award on manufacturing sector. That's the second edition, and that had opened, doors for me. And I have women who are either farmers or are working with farmers who source my raw materials. And I have women who work with me in producing these things. So,
do you have a chain of youths working with you too?
Yes, I do. In the factory, I have, we're 6 full-time, and the age bracket is between 21 and 27. And funny enough, I have 2 of them who finished secondary school, couldn't go into university, but they are very good mixers. So if you ask me, I'll tell you that there's this huge population out there that need to be taken care of, and this government is actually doing something about it.
Okay. Doctor, before we go to Professor Mutaka, we raised a concern, which, and I believe is one of the things you're doing in your office now. It says the concern he has is the target audience, the youth who are supposed to know about this program. Do they know about them?
Yeah, you see, I can say it is directly our responsibility to create awareness and to sensitize the youth on these programs he's talking about. Most of them are aware, but the problem we have, only those that are online that are accessible to them. But some of these programs up to now, they are not open online. So there are a lot of problems related to that. Like this, if you look at all this CBN intervention fund, farmers loan, referral, whatsoever, so many people applied and they have gotten it. But as for some of these recent programs that are coming in, if they are not online, most of these boys that are in the remote areas cannot come to Abuja and access it.
Are you thinking towards resolving that? Yes,
we are thinking towards resolving that issue. That's why I'm calling on all the parastatals. If there is any program that has to do not only with youths, any program in Nigeria, let it be online. When it is the generation of computer. Gone are the days when people will come off to a parastatal and queue up no. This is something that just throw a portal on the internet and everybody can access it. So I think I call on these parastatals. For those that are not online up to now, they should try to be online so that from our own side, we make sure we sensitize the youth, we create that awareness for them to go online and benefit from all these programs. If you look at it, what Neil was saying, the 774,000 jobs, the meter production, or say, but apart from that, if I am to add to it, the NDE, that is the Director for Employment, they are trying their best to recruit this youth because it's all about skill acquisition. Without the skill, even if you give them access to all these programs, it is not easy for them to benefit. So NDE is also trying. They're also trying their best. I learned that last year alone they trained not less than a million youths on all this skill acquisition in various categories. So I'm sure this involves the meter production side and this 77 job, involves everything. So apart from NDE, there are other, I think, 1 or 2 organizations also that they are into all this skill acquisition program. So this is, before you give the job, make sure you train these youths. Because even if you bring the job to our doorstep, if the skill is not there, there is no way we can benefit. So I think the most important thing, thank God that the government is giving that emphasis on these skill acquisition centers. Though some of the skill acquisition centers in the states are not up to now, they're able to resuscitate, I think, about 28 to 29 out of the 36. So which I'm sure by maybe the middle of this year, federal government can be able to restore all of them. So if you have all these skill acquisition centers, especially from these various places like 1, 2, 3, you will see that all these youths are already trained. It must not be a certificated or I must be a graduate. No. When you have that skill, you are already a certificated member. Because immediately you graduate, whatever you learn, the ND will issue or anybody can issue with a certificate. So when we have all these skills, it is very, very, I think it is easier for the youth to benefit from all these programs.
Well, our signal via Zoom has dropped. We'll take a couple of reports. When we return, we'll go into other areas of interventions by government involving Nigerian youths. We have scratched Empower. We have touched slightly on the 774,000 jobs. There are a lot, there are a litany of them. And like we said, we have a couple of reports, and some of these reports will get to show testimonies of how these programs are doing in the States. Let's begin with the report from Lagos.
Daniel Kingsley is busy but happy. With his deft hands and prowess at leatherworks, he has carved a niche for himself as a budding entrepreneur whose products draw patronage from far and near.
Last year, December, at least I have like 7 PS that they took outside. They took it to UK. I enjoyed doing it.
He has capital, one factor of production less to worry about, having benefited from the resettlement package of a federal government youth empowerment program with technical support from the National Directorate of Employment.
They came around, they saw me, at least they asked me, what do you need to start up your own? I said, okay, I have a sewing machine. So they said, no, can you operate the industrial machine? I said, yes, I do, I can operate the industrial machine. So they helped me, at least they gotten one for me. That's what I'm using to train my students.
After the training, we have what you call the resettlement scheme. When you have impacted in them skills, you give them resettlement packages in terms of equipment and even cash.
Shehu Abdurrahim got a similar head start from the federal government, and with a monthly proceeds of about 300,000 naira from his aluminium fabrication business, he believes the way out of unemployment in the country is for government to sustain investment in youth development.
I can't leave this work and work in the office because this work is okay for me.
Technical input provided by the NDE is a major component of the investment program, and it has positioned Daniel and Shehu's businesses, along with that of other beneficiaries in Lagos, on a positive trajectory with a potential for rapid expansion.
Come out, learn on 1 or 2 things, make yourself available for the society.
Convinced that providing youth with tools for economic self-reliance is the way to go, the federal government in 2020 announced the disbursement of 75 billion naira Youth Investment Fund through the Central Bank of Nigeria.
We'll proceed to Plateau State, but before then, from Jos, we hear that beneficiaries of the federal government youth intervention programs are saying tops up for the various government initiatives aimed at addressing youth unemployment in the country. Let's take a listen.
Is a nation with the youth making up almost half of its population. The need to make them self-reliant motivated Buhari-led administration to seek ways of making them productive. These interventions, such as the Empower and Creative, target youths between the age of 18 to 35, regardless of their educational qualification, and beneficiaries encouraged to be peer educators, thereby mentoring their peers.
They get youths within their community and engage them. They teach them how to do it, and then they pay them a little stipend. So they learn the skills, at the same time, economically, they are benefiting.
Samani Adams, a cosmetologist, and James Francis, a medical lab scientist, are some of the youths who have benefited from such programs, as they have been trained in different life-changing skills.
Before, I'm doing furniture work in Katako, but now I'm doing cosmetic production, different production through this youth empowerment.
Part of my stipends, I actually used it to go back to school, and by God's grace, I'll be graduating by the end of this year. So that aside, also part of the stipends I've been receiving, I've invested some in rabbitry. Then I also produce laundry soaps that I sell.
Once stabilized, these interventions will not only build a vibrant and productive youth population, but also revamp the nation's economy.
The result of the trainings that were given to all these business owners across board in various states, they were able to also imbibe best business practices that have enabled them to even expand what they are doing from the way they were doing their businesses. So it has gone a long way in rubbing on the economy of each state and the country at large.
Key players believe that these interventions, once constant and deliberate, can help break the vicious cycle of poverty, not just amongst the youth population, but amongst Nigerians.
Report from Jos indicates that the various youth empowerment programs by the present administration are viewed by many Nigerians as a feasible means of eradicating poverty and reducing crime rate in the country. That report is coming from Enugu.
Today I'm training other people in my own company. After the training, I believe there are some certain things I experienced last about hardship. Today, I don't feel anything about hardship today.
He is a young graduate in the carpentry business. Obumneme Chukwu is a beneficiary of one of the federal government's youth empowerment programs tagged Empower. Before now, he could hardly fend for his wife and 2 children. Now, he is presently an employer of labor. Like Obumneme, Sunday Christopher, a proprietor of a school in the rural area of the state, almost shut down his school for lack of funds to pay his staff during the lockdown. But the federal government paid some of his staff through the COVID-19 relief fund.
My workers benefited that program a lot. About 15 of them have been paid for 3 months for survival fund.
These social investment programs were designed to engage young people economically and reduce youth unemployment and restiveness, as well as elevate poverty. These empowerment schemes have had tremendous impacts on young people considered to be an integral part of the society. There are tens and thousands of young graduates and unskilled school leavers in Enugu State that are taking advantage of these social investment schemes to be self-reliant.
No other government in Nigeria have taught clearly programs about youth empowerment than this very government.
To sustain and improve on this success story, the government, through the National Directorate of Employment, has continued to provide monitoring services and other technical support to keep these young entrepreneurs in business.
NDE, since it started, has been rolling out people with skills. When one acquires skills and then sets up his or her own business, he's able to put food on the table. That is job creation, wealth creation, improves the standard of living.
Economic experts are optimistic that government will work with private sectors through a strategic alliance to ensure that more people benefit from this social intervention scheme.
Testimonies there across the country. We went to Lagos, Jos, and Enugu to tell you what the youth empowerment programs by the federal government is doing, and you can see the testimonies there, what they are doing. Now, I just hope that the signals via Zoom is up where Professor Mutaka joined us. If it's up, I'll be told and we get to him. Now, Doctor, let's come back here. Before we got to this level, Nii talked about 37 various programs put in place by the federal government, all to
empower the youth,
energize the youths in the country, but 17 specifically targeted at the youths. How come it looks as though they are not aware of them?
If you look at it, I'll still give reference to he said something, and I listened, that most of us are carried away by negative stories on the media. We don't give attention to what is happening on the positive side. All these about 17 programs he's talking about, they are online. 37, sorry. All of them are online. But people don't know about it. Every day we are talking about negative issues.
So how will they know about it?
That is it. So this is the responsibility of the Ministry of Information. Because we need to have a platform that will specifically be updating people every day. And I tell you about this sensitization. We are trying our best. But, you know, we are not a government agency. So we can't do like the ministry. So it is the responsibility of the ministry now to partner with all these agencies, not only one, not the agencies, even with the ministries. If there is any opportunity like this, it is not meant for the people in Abuja or the people in the state capitals. It is for Nigerians. So it is their responsibility to find a means, to find a medium that will reach out to all nooks and crannies of this country. The minister knows how best to reach out to these people that are in the remote areas. But without this awareness, we still have this problem. The programs will be there, unattended, and people will be crying every day. And most of the days, if you look at it, even most of this, what do you call it, this online media now, they were not giving much attention on positive things, because the social media, or I can say online media, is filled with most of irrelevant issues. So it is very, very important. The programs are there, and it is very, very important to create awareness. And this awareness, for somebody to create an awareness that will reach out to remote areas in this country, it is the responsibility of the federal ministry. So at this point, I am calling on the Minister of Information and other relevant agencies to find a medium to create that awareness, so that these people can come and benefit on this program. Like this particular program I study on this documentary, this survival fund issue. I'm telling you, most of the people are not aware of it. So many people. And this is something that the federal government wants to help people, at least. Give them a helping hand for the workers to survive. So I think on this particular issue you're talking about, creating awareness and sensitization is the most important thing. And this can only be done by the Federal Ministry of Information.
Okay. Is Professor Mutaka up? If he's up, can we go to him now? Okay, he's not ready yet. Niyi, you have heard from Dr. Maro, and a couple of tweets have come in. As much as this is there, but let us sustain conversation on the program. We have talked about the 774,000 program. Let's look at the NALDA. NALDA has been resuscitated, and a couple of initiatives have come up. Can we expand on them?
I think specifically we talked to the Accelerated Agricultural Development Program. Very, very impressive program. Don't forget that NALDA had gone comatose more than 20 years. It's not a new agency, but because, of course, government at those period, didn't see any relevance in grooming the youth. That's why such agency, went moribund. Thankfully, it has been resurrected, and the idea of Accelerated Agricultural Development Program, also one of its major flagship. The program is actually targeted at the Nigerian youth under 35, and I think the idea is for them to own about 20 acres of land, and those acres of land must be contiguous, to each other. And once they do that, they are provided virtually everything. They are provided seedlings, they are provided all the fertilizers and all that. And they are also guided through by extension workers on how to work, and the products of the farm, would also be off take. So it's not as if they are going to labor and go and market. Once the products are ready, it will be off take. So that's a major intervention. One, it is serving two purposes: enhancing the capacity of the Nigerian youth, and of course providing access to food security for the country. So you can imagine if we have up to just a million of such. A million people, involved in such, and multiply, because what you do, if we are talking of 20 acres, and you have 1 million people involved, you are talking of 20 million acres, being employed, for agricultural purposes across different products and all that. So it's and when you now also link that to the private sector, because there are two sides, you have the ones targeted at the Nigerian youth, and then there's a private sector driven accelerated agricultural development program that is open, and the capital involved is larger. Those ones will be financed strictly by Nigerian commercial banks, but it's targeted at mechanized farming. I think the amount involved is about 50 million naira and above. At reduced interest rates, with a moratorium, and of course extended payment period, about 7 years. So if you have access to 100 million, 500 million naira, and you are also encouraged to go into mechanized farming. So it is not just about empowering the Nigerian person now. We are also directly providing food, which has become a major headache, for us in recent time. So going forward, if we are able to realize this in the next 1 year, things will change. So that's about NADA. There are other legs to what NADA is doing, especially in conjunction. I think they are going to grow a relationship with NIRSA too, know, and I think the essential thing is really to keep on announcing this thing. I should say, confess one embarrassment that I have, on this survivor fund. Nigerians like free things. In fact, every human being by nature love free things. And government now said, we are going to take care of 3 months' salary of every qualifying company, as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. So many companies were affected. They were not into production of service-oriented activities during those periods. And of course, the outcome is that they could not pay salaries. And government, out of its wisdom, is saying, as our intervention, we are going to take care of 3 months of your salaries. This was announced, but I think not in fundamental ways. So much that even the Ministry of Trade and Investment came out to say, of all the 36 states, only 3 states filled up their quota. And that they are now just going to open the portals again. Free money. And it has been established that you don't need to know anybody to access this money. You get it? So you juxtapose that with the Nigerian mentality. The average entrepreneur who is in crisis at this point in time wants access to this kind of thing, and we are saying that we have this kind of program, and about 33 states out of the 36 states, have not filled their quota. It means there's a need to do a lot of articulation in the public space.
Okay. Did you need to know somebody in government or get linked with somebody in government to get the benefit you got?
No.
How did it happen?
I just happened to have an innovative product. I showed up at an exhibition, displayed my product. They walked around, saw it, and actually the first edition was when I actually went for exhibition. to exhibit my product, but I was not nominated then. The second one.
Which year was this?
That was 2017. Yeah, 2017. Okay. 2018. Yeah. So in 2019, there was no exhibition. It was MSME clinics. So we're asked to fill a form and submit, and I did. Make some videos to submit, and I did. And they did the screen. I didn't know anyone. I don't know who did the screening. And I was nominated. And I was shocked.
So what word of advice or plea will you make to Nigerian youth who believe that when government advertise or promotes a program, you need to know Niyi or you need to know Dr. Maru before you could benefit?
You don't need to know anyone. If you have an authentic idea, if you have an idea, and seriously, there are a lot of youth out there with innovative product. You just need to show up. Just keep showing up. If there is an exhibition, be there. If there is any trade fair, be there. When you keep showing up, you will win. But when you say you
for
need...
this particular program you took part in, okay?
Yes, you win. There's a lot of program. Well, I don't know much, but listening to what you said now, there are a lot of program out there. You just need to if you keep just showing up and searching. If you actually have a business, I think you're supposed to... Google should be your friend, for goodness.
Okay, let's go to Professor Mutaka. Here is up now before we take the tweets that have been on the Twitter handle. Prof, listening to the panelists here, sorry we lost signals from your end. It is clear that these programs are available, but like Dr. Umar will say, most of these youths are based in the rural area, difficult to reach areas, technology challenge, all that. In your view, how best, besides the normal channel, can they be reached so that they get to know that these programs are there and available free of charge for them? And you don't need to know somebody in government or get connected to any political party to get involved. Oh, we lost that signal again. Quickly, let's go to some tweets that have come. And a couple of tweets have come in. And let's begin with the very first one, which is from Abdullah Tabari. It says, the prosperity and well-being of the people and the country at large is by only empowering the youths. That's it. The next one is from Anat Ariko. Empower youths with enabling business-friendly environment and stop imposing unnecessary tax. Put basic infrastructure in place. Next, Ibe at 1 says, when will the new independent monitors under the National Social Investment Program begin work? Also, for the Youth Investment Fund, when are we getting the loan or business grant? Let me stop here for now. How do you respond to this? These are all from youths.
Yes, they are wonderful. But the last one is more or less a question.
Okay, yep.
And I'm not holding brief for the relevant agencies, so I cannot say anything on that, because he asked a direct question that when are they having the loan? So that one, I think he can Google the website and then send a direct mail to them so that they can respond to him.
Okay, there's this one now from Osman 104. Good evening. My question goes that there are a lot of online business that are circulating in the media, like You Network, You Connect, etc. I want to invest online. Can you please tell me varied online business I don't want to invest in a wrong way? So how do we handle this?
You should, in fact, online businesses are businesses that you need to be very, very cautious, about. You just don't go into any of such, The important thing is for you to know what you want to do first, If you have little money, first register a business. Register a business, it may be as little as a business name. Look out for what government is doing with all these programs we are talking about. We have talked about accessing construction of houses. If you are in the building and construction industry, that is one area you should be asking questions about. 300,000 houses are to be built over the next 12 months. And the construction of those houses had been reserved for the Nigerian youths under 35 years, those professionals under 35 years. So if you're a professional in the building and construction industry, that is one area you should be looking at. If you're a professional in the solar production and installation industry, you just need to go and register a business now and start asking questions about that, because you have a potential 5 million units of houses that you are going to produce, not just produce, but you are also going to install for. So if you have some little money, the first thing you needed to do is to register, and start thinking on how to link up to this. You have 6 million meters that would be produced and installed in this same country. If you have an inclination towards that, please latch on onto it. There is a creative fund. The creative fund is also ongoing too. If you are in the creative industry, you are an entertainer, you produce movie, you have a potential to produce music. This is the time for you to start asking questions. So don't go online business. What are you going to sell? What are you going to buy? Do you know what you are buying? Do you know what you are selling? I can tell you this. Some people floated an online business. For whatever reason, they got the idea right, and people were investing on them. These same people that claim to be investors, they got such a quantum of money from people that they didn't know what to do with it. They called me. Somebody gave them their contact and called me and said, we have this so much. How do we invest? I said, you collected money from people, and you are now, it is after you have collected the money that you are now asking how you want to invest the money. What I'm trying to say essentially is some people invested in them believing that they are investors. So what the outcome of that is clear. There are losses already in that venture. So please look at what is practical and direct your attention to it. We are talking about different programs and the policies that government is rolling out. Check out, follow up, Google, ask people. And talking about rural areas, it's easy to do that. You do social mobilization. If we are able to get rural women rural people to pay them cash transfer, there's a connection. So if we are paying cash transfer to rural women, 5,000, 10,000 and all that, it means we are talking to rural people. So it means there's a linkage to them, So there's a way to also sell these other products. If you are talking about agriculture now, it's people that are situated in the rural area that actually we should be talking to. If we are talking, because you cannot get the major factors that you need to get into the accelerated agricultural program, for instance, is for you to own lands. So you should be talking to rural people there, So the whole thing, actually is perhaps at the level of the office of the political affairs, whatever.
Yes.
Perhaps the first thing would be to even profile all these things. And start to create talking points. See, Nigerians are saying, we are hungry, we are this, we are. I believe that it is because we have not been able to provide enough information to provide hope. It is when you think there is nothing in the horizon that you feel desperate. But when you hear this and you think you can tap into it, I believe that will provide even food. Hope is food. And it gingers you, it drives you to keep asking questions. Nigerians used to start asking questions now because there are so many things in the horizon that can be tapped into.
Okay. Is Professor Mutaka back? Okay, it's not back yet. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The last question.
Yep.
He has money. If he is still online and he will answer this question, I would like to know where he's from. I mean, what state is he from? What's his location? You have, in Cross River, you have mushrooms. You have coffee from Cross River. Coffee from Obudu. You have in Sadauna, in Taraba, coffee. Now, who is thinking about Nigerian coffee, processing it for the Nigerian market? I'm not interested in, don't let us talk about exportation yet. Let's feed Nigerians. Mushroom, there are mushrooms in the supermarket for mushroom soup. There are mushrooms in large quantity in Cross River. So who is adding value to it? If my brother is listening and you have money, there is food security issues in Nigeria now. You can never go wrong with food. That is if you have passion for it.
Okay.
You can never go wrong with food. But online business, I don't know anything about it.
Let me just add.
Okay, just let me take out a few tweets. Okay, a couple of tweets here.
Okay.
Then we'll react to them, then take a break. But I think before we do that, it's time for our first break. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're looking at youth empowerment. When we come back from the break, we'll take a couple of tweets, take some reports, and sustain the conversation. Don't go away.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
The Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria is here to help you succeed. SMEDAN gives you entrepreneurship training that will make your business grow big. It can create access to finance. SMEDAN can help you prepare a good feasibility study and link you up with the finance institutions that will fund your business. It can also create access to market through local and international trade fairs, opportunity fairs, and exhibitions. SMEDAN also organizes programs to identify innovative entrepreneurs and promote their business ideas. Contact us at Plot 35, Port Harcourt Crescent, Area 11, Garki, Abuja, or visit our website www.smedan.gov.ng.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth Entrepreneurship Support Years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying tuned. Our focus tonight is youth empowerment programs put in place for youths in Nigeria. And before we went on the break, we have taken some reports and we're sustaining some reactions from our Twitter handle, which is at Tuesday Live NTA. Our phone line is also displayed on the screen. You could put your call across, raise your concern, ask your questions, be part of the conversation, and we'll sustain it. The other tweet coming from Abba Zokmia, Pastor Abayomi 1. It says, I am Abayomi from Akure. Thank you for the topic of today. The problem of Nigerian youths is a perennial issue. Effects of these perennial problems are unemployment, wrong values. Next from Ayomide Kenny. It says, when will exited Empower beneficiaries, both batch A and B, get their loans to start their businesses? That's the question. Hope is noted. And Abayomi is asking other questions. I sincerely appreciate the government of President Muhammadu Buhari for making huge efforts to solve problems of Nigerian youths. The federal government brought in Empower schemes, SME funding, where you benefited from, transparent recruitment exercises, survivor fund, 774,000 social scheme, just to mention a few. Abayomi says again, unfortunately, 40% of Nigerian youths are not well informed about the magnanimous approach of the federal government on youth development and empowerment. This is the lacuna NDE not need to fill, that is National Director of Employment. Abdullahi Umasani Kontagora, it says, I want to start with saying half bread is better than none. No matter how we criticize, we'll keep criticizing this progress. At least federal government has tried in alleviating poverty throughout Nigeria. What are states and local government areas doing with their resources? Can we react? Let me start with you.
Somebody asked about the N-Power batch A and B when they're getting their capital to start their businesses. You see, I said something that we can't hold brief for any agencies or any ministry. I think this is also a question that needs to be directed to that agency directly. They can Google and find out their website, and then their contacts are there, their email, so they can send that question direct. Because all I know is that the government is trying its best to see how they can release those capital to this.
Well, just for the sake of the viewer, for this program, we made frantic efforts to get Minister of Labour to be here to explain on 774,000 jobs. We make frantic efforts to get Minister of Youth and Sports to be here to explain on the National Youth Investment Fund. We made effort to get NALDA to be here, but they're not here to explain. So the public is asking questions, and these are programs made available for Nigerian youths, all to give them, like Nia said, deliberate policies to upscale youth involvement in the governance process.
That's it. So that is why I'm saying all these questions need to be directed to these relevant agencies. And I want to say something. It is very, very important. Not only these mentioned personalities. The government has a lot of things to do. Especially in this government, there is need for more enlightenment. So I think programs like this need to be put in place. Number two, there is another question, but it skipped my mind. I think the second person said it is very important, but I can't recall the question.
It was on what?
Anyway,
there was one on taxation.
Yeah, the tweet particularly admonished that excessive tax, was talking about excessive taxation and all that, and I think there's a need to correct that. The Nigerian government, again, out of a sense of responsibility, because it's clearly a sense of responsibility and strategic thinking, as this in the 2019, because it's in the 2019 Finance Act, declared that any company that has a turnover of less than 25 million naira, any company is exempted from company income tax. Not just company income tax, from VAT, value added tax. So which means most micro and small scale industries are exempted from paying company income tax in Nigeria. You know, for the person that is aspiring to go into production or service delivery, should be conscious that is benefiting a rebate. He or she is benefiting a rebate from government, because otherwise this is money that government will take. This is money that government had been taking until 2019. You know, so from 2020, government more or less forgave debt, and the idea, forgave taxation at that level. And the idea is, when you make that money, instead of paying up to 30% that used to be to government of your income, of your profit, as it were, government say you are forgiven, but we don't expect you also to just go and spend it. Take profit back into your business so that the business can grow. It will be to the benefit of the government if the business can grow from 1 million profit, for instance, over a period of time to 25 million. Then it will be convenient for whoever is running that business to start paying government. And again, if you are a middle level company and your income is between 25 million and 100 million. Your nominal tax before 2019, was 30% of your profits. But government says reduce that to 30%, to 20% from 30%. So which means you're also enjoying a 10% rebate, more or less. So in the tax jurisdiction, we should continue to congratulate this government for that thinking. We have about 40 million registered companies in Nigeria. About 35 million of that are in a small scale segment, of the economy. So what government is trying to do is to be able to build, this 35 million, at least to the middle level. When you do that, you would have created enough wealth within the environment. Because instead of collecting money when companies are even struggling, I can tell you, even if you are registering your company today, the first border you'll be, so after I make so much money, somebody will come and collect 30% of it. But government say, okay, that 30% that we used to collect, they used to collect it. In fact, in some places, before now, tax consultants will carry police and kill and go and everybody to your company to collect money from you. But I think there's more civility now in tax collection. There's more equity, and these are the reasons, for taxes, So the essential thing is, yes, is a creation of money in the real sense of it, because if you made profit and you are not paying, paying government that profit, a percentage of that profit, it is yours. So it's wealth creation for you. You now need to reinvest, that wealth, that profit.
Let's hold it there and take 2 more reports. When we come back, if more tweets come and calls, we address them. Then we look at the way forward and migrate with the program. Also, you talked about hope against fear. And we will need also Hawa at some point to talk to Nigerian youths in the area of giving them hope. She started from somewhere. She didn't know anybody. She didn't have any connection. But from where she is, she has an avalanche of products all from within the country. We don't know whether she's an exporter now or whether she's running out of demand. So we'll get to know about that. Let's take a couple of reports, and the next one coming from Calabar indicates that youths are often described as one of the greatest investments for any country's development. Having this in mind, the federal government invested its resources in Nigerian youth for optimal self-reliance and economic development through its Youth Empowerment and Welfare Package. And today, there are desired visible results in Cross River State. The report is coming from Calabar.
The Youth Empowerment Initiative of the federal government is what may be described as tangible testimonies from beneficiaries of the program in Cross River State. 31-year-old Janet Agba, an indigene of Cross River State, a graduate of mass communication from the Cross River University of Technology, CRUTEC, testifies of being a beneficiary of the program. She says upon graduation, life was very challenging, especially without a source of livelihood. The opportunity offered by the federal government's empowerment showed up, and for her, this was life-changing.
I graduated 2014. I went to service, came back. It was like that. Not until I saw this opportunity from ITF, which have really brought smile to my face. And challenge the world, I started my peanuts with just 1,000 naira.
Today, Janet is not just self-reliant, but she is giving back to the society.
I have a lot of cakes I have baked. I started my first wedding cake I delivered was wow. And that cake, what I collected from my clients was 30,000 naira. I delivered 3 steps cake. When I delivered the wedding cake, someone saw it there and said, please, you will do my traditional marriage cake.
Then I was not having any money. I was not even doing anything that would fetch me any money. But when that one came, I applied, and I was fortunate enough to be one of the beneficiaries. And they were paying 30,000 naira every month, which I have empowered myself with it. I've been able to buy sewing machine and I've been able to enroll in sewing.
For Janet, like some other youths who are beneficiaries of the federal government empowerment program and stakeholders, most schemes to economically develop youths will place Nigeria at advantageous position in the Committee of Nations while checking youth restiveness.
Our next report from Ilorin indicates that the federal government social investment programs initiated by the Muhammadu Buhari administration targeted at youths and the vulnerable have changed the fortunes of some beneficiaries in Ilorin, the capital of Kwara State. Let's take a listen.
Meet Sadiat Abdulrazak, a mother of two and a proud owner of a provision store at New Market in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. She started her provision store after joining Empower in 2016, and according to her, her business has been booming ever since.
I start with 200,000, which we do contribution in the school that I did my Empower program. But now it has helped me a lot. Empower has done more.
The Empower initiative of the federal government has also touched the life of another beneficiary who owns a patent shop and has become an employer of labor and a channel of empowerment to others.
I've been in the business before I joined the Empower and beneficiary, but the business is not as like this one. But immediately I joined the Empower, the little amount I got from the Empower, I used the money to establish this business. As you can see, in this business I was able to at least train some apprentices in which they have already got their own new shop now.
The initiative in Kwara State has no doubt recorded chains of successes with the aim of empowering people and lifting them out of poverty.
The Empower that we did is 2016 that they gave us the Empower, but they have stopped everything now. So we want the government to help us so that we can expand our business.
Empower in Kwara State has no doubt left a mark on the sands of time for the likes of Sadiat, who, just like Oliver Twist, are requesting more of such initiatives by the President Muhammadu Buhari administration.
The report from Ilorin is the last on the program tonight. But quickly, before we went to take the reports, Dr. Umaru was to react on the tweets from Abdullahi Umar Sani, which says, I want to start by saying half bread is better than none. No matter how well we criticize, we will criticize the program, at least the federal government has tried in alleviating poverty throughout Nigeria. What are states, local government areas doing with their resources?
That's a very good question. You see, there is a problem, especially when it comes to the issue of youth empowerment or employment in Nigeria. We push every blame to the federal government, forgetting the local and the state level. Though some of them are trying, they have done best, but I think there is need for them to put more effort in giving a helping hand to the federal government to see how they can empower the youth. When we talk about the lack of awareness about all this, I think by the time federal government is trying to put these programs on the table for the youth, the state and local government can also help to create that awareness to their people. Because if you are doing it to your people. As a local government chairman, I would like to create an awareness for my people to go and benefit. As a governor, I will find a medium to my ministries to create an awareness. So it is a very good question. Though I know some of them are trying, but I would suggest they should put more effort, especially in the area of educating and then skill acquisition, so that the federal government will be given these programs, while from there they hold the other angle to give knowledge on these programs.
Anyway, that is related to what EB1 has said earlier. Said, when will the new independent monitors under the National Social Investment Program begin work? Also for the Youth Investment Fund, when are we getting the loan or business? Meaning there's a team that always go an appraisal
that is what
at
we
the
have been
state and
saying.
local government levels.
You see, if you look at it, the program is incomplete. There are some people that are supposed to be here to answer questions.
Okay.
But there is nothing we can do since they're
Now,
not here.
a tweet has just coming from Victor Oyeniran, V. Oyeniran at Oyeniran. Well done, SARS and Ma. As a graduate of architecture, how can I access the loan and register my firm? Above all, how much is the registration? I mean the housing sector scheme. Victor O. from Isheyin, Oyo State.
What it means is that I am more up to date than Victor. And I can tell you that I am not a government official, but whatever I'm saying, it's as of my own personal passion, for gathering information. If you are just thinking, Victor, I'm talking to you directly now. If you are just thinking of registering your company, it means you have also missed an opportunity. Because part of the program arising from the economic sustainability plan, is to register free of charge 250,000 companies, And I think to a large extent that had been filled, so perhaps you are coming a little bit late. But again, I know some state quota may be outstanding. So you can go online and Google the Survivor Fund with specific focus on free registration of companies. Perhaps you may be lucky if your state's quota has not been filled, The last we had that out of the 250,000 potential companies to be registered, 100,000 have been confirmed to have been registered free of charge, So it's you can go do that. Then at the level of your interest in the 300,000 housing units, I would suggest that you go online too, specifically to the website of the Ministry of Works and Housing. That's the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing. That's the ministry responsible for the implementation of that track of the program. You are likely, to get information on that. You are not required to pay anything. It's a process. It's a process thing. You are not required to pay. And in fact, when you qualified and you are selected, fund would also be made available to you in form of loans, to execute those programs. So it's as simple as that. So just try. You are knowledgeable enough to know how to go online and do your research. Do your research as I did mine.
Okay. So, Howard, just brief, just give us maybe a testimony of how it has been, where you are, just for the sake of those youth who feel they cannot do it, they cannot succeed. You started it and you're succeeding.
A testimony. I started with Tiger Nut Flour, and today, if you permit me, can I show? Yeah.
Briefly?
Yes. Today you have pastry mix. That is made from sesame seed and cashew. Sesame seed, ordinarily people use it. They only just roasted and just ate.
Was it a bank loan you got or a grant from government?
No, there was no bank loan. I started with what I had, small, and entered into the MSME competition, won for the manufacturing sector. Of course, I was given money, and I put back that money, that's it, into my business, and we rebranded, and instead of doing Tiger Nut, we now have pastry mix, and we also have a nut and seed butter. So what I'm saying is this: there are just so many things we have in Nigeria here that if you look closely in your community, your location, there is something you can start with. You don't really need to start big, but you just have to start somewhere, and it's possible to run. I mean, the food industry, and I know that it is so huge, and we've not even done anything yet. Is it possible? It is possible to start with products that are farmed in Nigeria. Everything that I use in my product are farmed in Nigeria. My packaging is from Nigeria. The only thing that is not from Nigeria is the
jar. And I'm seriously searching for a manufacturer that will produce a jar. So there is nothing that we
It's
can...
actually upside down. Can you put it
Yeah.
straight?
No.
Put it properly. It's upside down.
No, it is like that.
That's how it is packaged.
Yes.
Wow,
that's the Nigerian style.
So yes. So
everything in that container is Nigeria except the container itself.
Except the container itself. You have the
No foreign.
Nothing. Everything in Nigeria, Kogi, Nasarawa, Kaduna, is this. So we have everything. Just look around you.
And when you got this, you didn't have a connection to any of the political parties?
I don't. I don't have a card.
Okay, let's proceed. Listening to the Minister of Youth and Sports, Sunday Dare, speak shortly before the National Youth Investment Fund was launched, he said the vision behind it is to make Nigerian youth enterprising, skilled, innovative, and not just to finish and depend on government, but to finish and be employers of labor. Just like say, train the trainer. And in turn, maybe those working with them will also replicate the same scenario. And you're looking towards the government direction. And if this kind of a thing works, how do we see youths in the next 15, 20 years? Let me begin with you.
So what I can say is this, if it works perfectly the way he said, in the next 20 years, Nigeria will be a very great country. The major challenges we have is the same topic we are talking about, lack of employment and youth empowerment. So I think what the minister was saying is the right thing. It's not just to collect the money and at the end of the day you end up doing nothing. But if you can use the money judiciously, at least in a short while you'll be an employer of labor. Number two, government is giving it on support, loan support, capital and other things. I think we too, we need to contribute our own quota. We need to stand up. We cannot just push everything 100% to the government. In other countries, if you look at it, 40% are not relying on the government. They are self-reliant. So we need, in one way or the other, to be self-reliant. We need to imbibe that culture of being self-reliant. Like my sister here, she's self-reliant. Look at what she's doing. She can employ 2, 3, 4, 5 people. If I can do the same, Stani can do the same, you can do the same, I think before you know we are somewhere.
Maybe I'll also go an enterprise.
That is it.
Do a print
But if you look at it, we are all talking about government programs, youth empowerment, this. We need to stand up. We need to call on these youth. We need to create awareness. We need to sensitize them to know that it's good to be self-reliant. It's good to learn something. It's good to do something. Let's put our hands together to move this country forward. We should not just be expecting government to do everything for us. No, we need to contribute our own quota. What are we doing for the government? What are we doing for the country? So it is not everything that will come from the government. No. At least Nigeria is trying. This administration has tried. We have seen so far, we have discussed a lot of programs here. We have seen what the programs, what they transpired to. Some people are giving testimonies and other things. But if you come to the Nigerian sector of the, or I can say the industrial sector of this country, see that we are far left behind. Not only the youth. We need to be more industrious. So that at least that burden can come down. How many states in Nigeria? Take away Kano, Lagos, Port Harcourt. Look at the other states. How many factories do they have? How many companies are they operating? There are a lot of this. I think the government needs to look at all this. Let's come up with more ideas. Let's bring up more industries. So that at least by the time government is doing 40%, these people can do at least 10% or 20%. By the time you match, you have 60%. And when you have 60%, definitely you have more than at least a good. So I think not only the youth empowerment. The government should not just emphasize on the youth directly. Give hand to these industries that have died already, bring them up, call investors to come in and bring in new industries. I think if we're doing this, it is a very good medium. It is a very good, way of helping the youth to sustain themselves. So many people doesn't even want to work in government anymore. And to be frank, if you look at this program, somebody will collect 30,000, 50,000. The youths of today, their thinking is far ahead of all this. I can tell you most of these graduates, if you give them 30,000, they're just looking at you. You can't give somebody 30,000 and think he can start a business from somewhere in the universities today. No, they don't have that initiative. But they believe some of them prefer to take their certificates, go to an industry, get a job, keep on working there at least. I think that they are more convinced. So it is not everything that will go directly to the youth. Government should put more emphasis on these industries, be more creative, and create more industries, bring in more investors, so that at least they can give helping hand to the government.
Before you will react on the scenario I painted, at Sunday Linus says, I thank the federal government for trying to lift up youths, but the ministries handling the programs should be well monitored because there are so many things happening. For example, the omission of more than 14,000 Empower beneficiaries from the program. That's the reaction from Sunday Linus. So how do you react to my scenario I painted regarding if the beneficiaries of the Nigerian Youth Investment Fund go with the flow in terms of the vision government has, the template government has, the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, I am one particularly that I have such a huge confidence in the capacity and capability of Nigerian youths. And I have references, to substantiate that. Look at the creative industry. Look at the music subsection of that industry and the film production subsection of that industry. Before 1998, 2000, we still had a lot of influence of foreign movies in Nigeria and foreign music in Nigeria. But over the last 10 years, when the Nigerian youth took over, today, even on air, on radio stations, on television stations and all that, hardly do you get to watch foreign musicals. Hardly do you get to listen to foreign music on our airwaves again. Nigerian youths are taking over. Because if you are talking of film producers, music producers, singers and all that, actors and all that, most of them are youths, And because they have shown such sufficient capacity in that regard, it's an indicator of what the Nigerian youth can do when they are properly directed. I want to hold a contrary position to what Doctor said, that on the 30,000 naira Empower stipend. As small as that allowance was, at the point in time, I led a team of people that did a documentary, on the beneficiaries of the Empower. We met about 100 of them. About 40 of them had started businesses from that 30,000 naira. About 10 of them had built houses, two rooms and all that, from that 30,000 naira. And we can go beyond. If we are not limited to the Nigerian youths, the cash transfer, the 5,000 naira. Some women in one local government in the Kwara State were contributing 1,000 from what they were getting monthly, and they built 4 classroom building, for the secondary school in that community. No money money has value to the extent of your commitment and application. You know, see, some people, ordinary 1,000 naira will be the difference between their success and their failure, because they either needed to move from one point to the other, or they needed to buy something, you know, to actualize their dream. It's also like if you also go into the leatherware industry, especially in the urban centers, go to Aba. You go into some places in Aba, you think those shoes and sandals were made somewhere in Italy. You know, as near perfect as they are. In Lagos, I know of 3 particular local governments. Mushin local government, from which I come Shomolu local government, and I think Ajegunle, the Ajegunle axis, you know. Young boys are involved in shoes and leather products. So what I'm trying to say essentially is, once they are properly directed, as is being done now with what the federal government is doing, and I hope it will be complemented, as Doctor said, at the state and local government level. Just leave the rest to the Nigerian youth. What we just need is that proper orientation and proper focusing, you know, and have access at this initial stage to proper information. I understand that out of the about 300 billion naira targeted credit facility by the CBN, about 170 billion of it had been disbursed. I am sure that it had been disbursed to artisans and youth with creative mind. I am sure so much will come out of that. And look at the ICT. I can tell you in the next 10 years, Nigeria will beat India, you know, in the ICT world, because we have a young generation, you know, that are truly natives. We call them natives of the ICT world. We are nomads. We still need, even our phone is limited to texting and calling, and sometimes chatting, you know. But even if you give your Android phone to a 15-year-old Nigerian
10 years.
person, 10 years, you will see what he or she will come, you know, from it, you know. And you can see apps that are being developed now in Nigeria. I know that there was a particular application that was designed and produced by a Nigerian and sold for more than $1 billion, you know, to either Google or one of these big tech companies. You know. Yesterday I saw the creator of the piggy bank, you know, online piggy bank on CNN, 2 days ago, precisely. Beautiful young girl, you know. She concepted that idea, and it's a big thing now. So what I'm trying to say, I've just tried to reference these examples to show the kind of capacity and potentials, you know, that is more or less deposited in the Nigerian youth. So going forward, once they are properly directed, we'll be breaking records.
Okay, let's go back to you are giving us hope with the kind of products you had. Yes. You didn't finish, but you need to take off other areas. But just still from the angle of hope against fear.
Yes.
Can you encourage our youths?
See, it's possible to start a business in Nigeria. You don't need anyone. You don't need to know anyone in government, any politician. Whatever you have, start with it. Wherever you come from, I tell people that I see all the time that it is cheaper to start from your environment, your location, because then you know. I tend to ask people, where are you from? Then I ask you what is, because I'm in the food industry, I know that more. I play that sector more. And I ask you where you come from, what is grown there, and I'll be able to share with you what I think you can produce with it. Last week, if I'm not mistaken, Nigerian beans is banned again, EU. That's the third time in 5 years. I'm not interested in why, but what are we going to do? Do we have excess? So if Nigeria is having
challenged with protein. So can we begin to add value to the beans and begin to package? Where are you from? Is beans grown in your village? A lot of people do marmite. It's everywhere. They take beans cake in the morning. Can you add value to the beans cake, to the beans grown in your village? How much will you spend to buy beans? Maybe a half bag, you pack. How much will it cost you to brand? If you start from there, within a year, as you begin to add value to it, and before you know it, you're taking it to a different level. So please, look around you and use what you have. Let's change Nigerian food plates while we're making money.
Now, there are a lot of programs out there by the government targeted at youths.
Yes.
He has said 37 by the last count.
Yes.
And by his critical look at them, 17 targeted critically on the youths. It looks as though most of them either they don't have faith in it, they don't believe in it, and they are not made available themselves to be part of it. Now, you just saw an architect send a tweet asking how he can register and be part of it. Me has explained to him what to do. So now you started from somewhere.
Yes.
And you didn't need to know anybody within the corridors of power to be where you are today.
Yeah.
These are the people I want you to target. Talk to them. Maybe they will take you seriously. They are listening to you.
Yeah, so for instance, I have people who work with me and they're on internship, and what we do with them, I actually have just 3 of them. What I do with them...
Nigerian youths?
Nigerian youth. What I do with them, there's Joy, she's from Kaduna, and we're actually looking at producing ginger sauce. We're looking at, for the next months that she'll be working with me as an intern, we're looking at the production sourcing to the point of registration. So I think most small business owners should begin to employ youth as an intern, and youth should. That's another challenge we seem to be facing. If you have to learn a certain trade or a certain business, you need to agree to go in as an intern so that you can learn the rope. Now, if most small businesses should take youth and train them on what they are doing, as in like showing them the way, because it's not all about money. I don't think you just get, if you do not have the skill to do those things, you will probably end up wasting that funds. So if you're anywhere and you have any dream, please look for someone who is already on that field, doing well. Key in, look for a mentor, look for someone to guide you, and you will get there. That's my piece.
Okay, thank you. Before I take on Eve and Dr. Maro, this tweet's coming from Lawashun Akin, Dr. Akinton Susheun. It says, like rightly posited, there is not enough information to make decisions on many of these intervention programs. I'm especially particular about the CBN Intervention Fund. What is required to access it? David Umar, 127, says, we have only pockets of youths who are benefiting from these programs. The state governments and local governments can support the federal government in making sure that more youths are empowered. Youths can also start by solving a need in their community. Don't wait for government. That's an appeal.
Yeah.
Well, we are coasting home as it is. Like they'll say, we'll keep talking, and I believe we'll keep appealing, and I believe the mindset reorientation will maybe switch the right way very soon. Your last thoughts?
Well, as they say, information is power. Information is wealth. You know. So in our talking are nuggets of wealth. So it depends on who is listening, who is also recording what we are talking about, and who is creating value in what we are talking. And where it's not just about talking alone. There should be that consciousness of deliberately looking out for information. You know, in whatever you do, the difference between the manufacturer here, who is the most productive person amongst us. No, is that she acquired information and she applied information. So in all we are doing, we can also say that even where all television stations and radio stations are percolated with all this information about what we are talking about, those that will not hear will not hear. Those that will not see will not see, if they don't have that deliberate consciousness, you know. So as we have said now, it's not, don't let it be like they describe the average Nigerian man, that if you want to hide something from the average Nigerian man, go and put it in a book, you know. So there must be that consciousness of seeking out information. We have said this, whoever listens to it should go online. All those information are available online. The Twitter message that talked about intervention is also online, you know. Just Google, especially Google CBN intervention. There are two to it. You have the targeted credit facility, and you also have the intervention, how do I call it, capital intervention, where government provide you with capital to start off. It's loan, it's not free, but I think the interest rate for now is 5% till the end of 2021. No, till March 2021. But there's a consideration that it will be extended, you know. And I think the other factor that is also important is a 7-year tenure. So it's just if you've had it and you are motivated, go online, search. You'll get your information. Most of the programs that are being done by this government are done online, as noted by Doc here. And what online does, what ICT does to programs like this is to create a gap, you know, between the beneficiary and the implementers. So there's the likelihood of corrupting that process is reduced, you know, because if you are applying, I don't know who is applying, you know. So there's that, and those who had benefited from Empower, for instance, would give credence to what we are saying. I know that 99% of those that became beneficiaries of Empower did not know anybody from anywhere. They applied online and they became beneficiaries. And now we are also going forward, from what I'm reading from recruitments in MDAs. You do it online. Nobody knows you, you know, and you get it. So let us have that beginning turnaround in our consciousness of knowing somebody before you get something in this country. Okay. I think it can be done on merit.
Okay. Doctor?
Thank you. I think what I can say, the government has done well so far. And then I'm calling on the youths to use their time judiciously in getting information about all these programs. This is a medium that we can at least advise also. Most of these programs are direct to the youth. So I think the government should also create an indirect option to diversify, at least, which will also target at the youth, or I can say the youth empowerment, like the one I said, to create more jobs through the third-party option. And then, like my sister here, she's a producer or manufacturer of this product. So if I can tomorrow say, okay, let me be producing the bottle, it is another, I think, a milestone. So the state and local government as well should try their own quota. At least they should try their best to create awareness in their localities. If there is any way you can reach out to your remote areas, I think it is a very good idea. Because if we leave everything like this, in the morning the youth will just go to Facebook to see what is happening in the Boko Haram. Or
Doctor, I'm afraid I have to hold you here. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Let me begin with Professor Mohammed Usman Mutaka, who joined us via Zoom in Abuja, but signals failed and we couldn't sustain conversation with him. We thank him for being part of the program for the short while he was there. And Dr. Garba Umar, it was nice having you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Awal Huru Al-Kashim, thank you so much for doing the program. and Ni Akinsiju, financial and investment analyst. Thanks so much for being on the program.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
And for those sending tweets, thank you for your tweets. We looked at youth empowerment, and the avalanche of programs are available. Catch your lash onto it, and the benefits will be there. That's not the program, and don't always forget to be part of the campaign by the NTA to support the NTA's campaign against rape and rapists to be a star. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.